Congratulations.
Thank you.
You got to go through this. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Great to have you in Bedminster, from Nashville, and please sit down. And so many of you I know, and others I just read about on the covers of all of the business magazines. Fred Smith I know very well, but I also read about you, Fred. You're doing okay. It was a good term paper you wrote for Harvard or wherever the hell you wrote it, but it was very good. It turned out to be right. The teacher didn't understand it like you did, right?
It was a good grade for me.
It was good. C was okay. It was okay. Congratulations. Congratulations really to everybody in the room. You've done an incredible job. I just want to say that I'm meeting tonight with some of the top business leaders in the world. We talk about business, this is the group. And we're so honored to have you, and we're going to be discussing later on some of the ideas you may have to, as the expression goes, make America great again. And we've been doing a lot of it. You know, you've been big beneficiaries, and you've helped in many cases. Before we start, I'd like to say a few brief words about the tragic fires in California. I'm monitoring the situation very close. My administration is in constant contact with everything going out in the state and with the local authorities and the state authorities. On August 4th, I declared a major disaster in the state and ordered federal assistance to supplement recovery efforts. It's been a very tough situation taking place in California for a number of years, and we're going to have some meetings about it because there are reasons and there are things you can do to mitigate what's happening. We send our love and support and prayers to the families of those who have lost loved ones. They've never seen anything like it, what's happening. We're deeply grateful to our incredible firefighters and first responders. They're really brave people. I've been watching them go into areas where very few people would go, and some of them don't come out alive. They're risking their lives, and they're doing it to contain these devastating fires so they can save other lives. My administration will do everything in our power to protect those in harm's way, and we have the finest emergency relief people in the world right out there now. We send them to different countries when we have earthquakes, when we have other problems going on in the world. We'll send our first responders in some cases to help. And I always get calls from the prime ministers or the presidents or whoever's running saying these are the most talented people we've ever seen. Well, right now they're in California and really doing an incredible job. It's great to be here with so many of our friends through tax cuts, deregulation, powerful trade policies, and that's what they are, powerful trade policies. Some of you probably love them, and a couple of you probably don't because you're on the wrong side of the border. But if you're from this country, you're loving what's happening. The steel industry, as an example, is one of the hot industries of the world right now. What's happened to steel in the United States, where we have plants opening up literally on a daily basis. Nobody thought that would be possible. And that's a very important industry. Through tax cuts, deregulation, powerful trade policies, and unleashing American energy, where we're now the largest in the world, we're taking our economy to incredible new heights. Many of the great business leaders, and I'm just going to ask them because they are so incredible and represent such a very important thing for our country. They represent success. I'm just going to ask them to just stand up and just introduce themselves and their company because these are really the jobs they've done and the amount of employment. Some of these companies, well, how many are in your company? About 500,000 people. Really, 500,000. These are the big employers of the world. So I'm going to ask them when I'm finished to just stand up for a second and just introduce themselves and their company and their spouse or who they're with. I'd like to take this opportunity also to briefly highlight some of the administration's key economic accomplishments. As you know, we're doing record and close to record GDP. Nobody thought would be anywhere above, even close to 2, and we are at 4.1, and I think we're going much higher. And as trade deals come in, we can go much, much higher. We have 3.9 million jobs created since the election, a number that would have been unthinkable. Fred, if I would have said 3.9 million and you were in the audit, well, you would have believed me actually, but they would not. Nobody would have believed. Fred would have believed. 3.9 million since election. It's a lot of jobs. Nobody would have thought that was possible. Probably they would have said, if we get a million, seriously, that would have been a tremendous number. More Americans are now employed than at any time in the recorded history of our country. We have more people working today than we've ever had in the history of our country. That's a big number. Manufacturing employment is now growing at the fastest rate in more than 30 years. And it's going to get even faster. We have many companies that are announcing that they're coming, and I know some that haven't announced yet, they'll be announcing very shortly. They're coming back to the United States. We've created more than 400,000 manufacturing jobs since my election. If you remember during the debates, we were having, let's say the opposing party, to be nice, say that manufacturing jobs don't happen anymore. I said, really? We don't make things anymore? Well, we have 400,000 and we'll have 500,000 in a very short period of time. They're moving very quickly, and that's a great job. That's really one of the great jobs. Economic growth last quarter hit the 4.1. We anticipate this next quarter to be just an estimate, but already they're saying it could be in the fives. Each point, it doesn't sound like much because when I first started, we were at 1.2. Each point is $3.5 trillion and 10 million jobs. That's some number. Even if you're thinking about Pepsi, that's a big number. Don't we agree? Each point, 1 point, is $3.5 trillion and 10 million jobs. And we're going to be, I think we're going to be very shortly in the fives. And again, numbers that people wouldn't have believed. But more importantly, I really think we can go much higher than in the fives once we get trade deals that are rational and sane and good for our country. And not even good for our country, just fair for our country. New unemployment claims recently hit a 45-year low. African American unemployment rate has reached the lowest levels in recorded history. The lowest in recorded history. Hispanic American unemployment rate is the lowest level in recorded history. Asian American unemployment rate is the lowest level in recorded history. The women's unemployment rate is the lowest level in 65 years. The unemployment rate for Americans without a high school diploma is at the lowest level in history. People that were unable to go, for many reasons, through high school, weren't able to get a high school diploma. We have the lowest in history. The veterans' unemployment rate reached the lowest level that it's been in more than 20 years. Almost 3.9 million Americans have been lifted off food stamps since the election. That's a tremendous number, 3.9 million Americans. That number is going up rapidly. And the reason is not because of policy other than policy of jobs. They're getting jobs, so they don't need the food stamps. Through the Pledge of America's Workers launched just last month, over 4.2 million Americans will receive enhanced career training and opportunities. And one of the I can tell you one in particular, but many of the people in this room have made that possible. We have 4.2 million Americans that will receive enhanced career training opportunities. They will become very, very intelligent in the way of working a specific job. I want to thank Ivanka Trump because you've been really heading up that program and you've done a fantastic job, Ivanka. Thank you. 95. You know, when she started, she said, Dad, we'd like to do it for about 500,000 people, 500,000 people. And that was 4 months ago. And then all of a sudden, many of the people in the room, I know Fred was very much involved, but many of the people in the room, they took 50,000, 60,000, in one case, 500,000, in one case, 1 million. We had just an incredible outpouring. So we took the 500,000 up to 4.2 million, and now it's going to be, I guess, before we finish, which will be in another month, and then it'll continue on, but it'll be over 5 million people will be working very hard and being trained to have great jobs. We signed the biggest tax cut and reform in the history of our country. After the tax cuts, and as part of the tax cuts, we're bringing hundreds of billions of dollars back to our land, back to our country, money that was never able to be brought back. Some of the people in this room have billions and billions of dollars. They call it offshore, but basically it means outside of this country. They couldn't get the money back. And we expect to have in excess of $4 trillion brought back very shortly. Apple is building a $350 billion campus and various plants throughout the country. They bring back $230 billion alone. Exxon's bringing back $50 billion. But we expect that it could be, the number started out at about $2.5 trillion. We think it's going to be close to $5 trillion. Over 4, but close to $5 trillion. Will be brought back into our country. This is money that would never, ever be seen again by the workers and the people of our country. My administration is providing more affordable health care options for Americans through associated health care plans and short-term duration plans. It's incredible what we're doing with that, and many drug companies are lowering their prices. And I must tell you, Pfizer, I want to thank Pfizer, and I want to thank numerous of the drug companies for, as you know, they went out with an increase last week, fairly substantial increase, and I wasn't happy about it. And they heard that, and they cut the increase back to nothing. They never did that before. They asked for an increase in drugs, and they actually posted it. It was increased, and I was not happy because we want to get drug prices down. And Pfizer and Novartis and others actually took the increases that were already made, and they lowered them, they brought them back down, which is the first that anybody can remember. Like I said, the office of president must be very powerful to be able to do that, because these drug companies are very, I mean, look, they're great, but the prices are too high. And we are announcing something next week which is going to get them down really, really substantially. So we didn't think it was appropriate, and we want to just thank them. That's the whole group of them, and they know who we're talking about. We had a record number of regulations eliminated. Many of the business people said to me that as big as the tax cuts have been, as important as the tax cuts have been, maybe more important was the regulation cutting. It would take 20 years to build a highway to get the approvals to build a highway. We have it down to 2, and I intend to have it down to 1. That doesn't mean it's going to be approved. It's got to be great from an environmental standpoint and safety standpoint, but it will be either rejected or approved within a very short period of time. But we were up to 20 and 21 years, a highway. People started working on the project, and by the time they finished, they were middle-aged or old. And it was ridiculous, frankly. So we have it down to 2, but I want to get it down to 1. And many of the people in Visimo want to say something, but many of the people in the room have told me, actually, that the regulation cutting, we cut about 75% of the regulations out. We have some to go. We'll have just as good a set of regulations, but we won't be duplicative. It won't be doubles and triples and go to the same agency 9 different times to get the same approval. So we're very proud of that. It's had a huge impact on a lot of companies and a lot of building. One of the things we did immediately is we approved the pipelines coming in, both Dakota Access and the Keystone XL pipeline. That was approved just about in my first day of office. I approved it. That was 48,000 jobs, and we went through the red tape. And one is now opened, and the other one's ready to start construction. So it's been really something. Coal exports, clean coal, increased 60% last year. American oil production is at an all-time high. As I said before, we're the leading country in the world right now for energy, and the United States is a net natural gas exporter for the first time since 1957. So we've made a lot of progress, and a lot of it was done with the help of the folks that lead these great corporations. And maybe I'm going to ask a very powerful woman. She's always at the top of the most powerful women in the world. And no, Melania, I'm not talking about you. But has run Pepsi so incredibly well. And maybe I'll just ask a few of you to stand up. We'll go around the table and just say the name of the company. But I want to congratulate you because I read a beautiful story about you today. You'll be doing bigger and better things.
Thank you. I'm the outgoing chairman of the Factba.se, but still holding the job today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Richard McFrag. I'm the chairman of the McFrag organization, and we're proud of the great job our president has done for this country.
Well, Richard was a great help. with regulation. He was in there with Steve and some of our friends, and we worked.
Trying to get a little infrastructure built.
These are great infrastructure people. They know what they're doing, so we got a lot of study. Right?
Frederick Smith with FedEx Corporation.
Meaning owner, founder, and everything else, right? There's nobody else. The whole deal. Please.
Dennis Molenberg, President, Chairman of the Boeing Company, and I hope you all arrived here in a Boeing airplane today. And we're going to build a record number of airplanes this year. Thanks, Paul.
Boeing is doing very well. I think Boeing has to like me a lot. You're doing very well. I think everybody, frankly, in this room likes me. We'll keep it that way. Could I ask the great First Lady? She has been so caring, so loving, so good to people. And I was in Ohio the other night, and there's so many signs. We love our First Lady. We love our First Lady. Melania, please stand.
Well, welcome to Bedminster. It's great to have you here. And we're looking for a great discussion tonight. And I just want to thank the President for doing an incredible job and for all of your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please.
My name is Ajay Banga. I'm the President and CEO of MasterCard. And while today he's paying for dinner, any other day when you're paying, remember to use it.
Yes. How are you? Congratulations. And Ivanka again. Thank you, Ivanka. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your leadership and certainly tax reform and all the things you've done speak for themselves in terms of the results. My name is Gary Sadovchik. I'm the Chairman and CEO of Honeywell. My wife, Gary.
Good. And we're working on air traffic control. They've spent billions and billions of dollars on air traffic control, and it's worthless. In fact, pilots don't even want to use the system because they put in obsolete systems. This is previous administrations. And actually, my pilot came up to me and said, "Sir, this is 5 years ago." He said, "Is there anything you can do? They're putting obsolete air traffic control systems in. They're land-based and they should be in space. And it's ridiculous what they're doing. They're spending." My pilot told me this, so I knew. I said, "Listen, I'm not president. I have no intention of being president. What do I have to do with it?" And here we are. And I still remember his statement. And you do a great system. So hopefully you'll be bidding and you'll give us a very low price. And if you're not, we'll cut you anyway. You have a great system, actually. You really do. Great. Please.
Just so I can actually tell you,
Good.
President, thank you for the invite. My name is Mike Manley. I'm the CEO of the Enterprise Automobiles. And when you've landed in Dubai, then you should get a sushi.
He wants tariffs so badly on those automobiles that they pour in, right? Thank you very much. Yes, please. Take the mic.
I'll let you have it, Mr. President. Mr. President, thank you very much for having us here. Alex Gorski, Chairman and CEO of Johnson & Johnson. Most of you know us for baby shampoo, but as you're playing the golf course, please remember to use Neutrogena as you get older. But here with my wife, Pat, and it's certainly great to hear the long list of accomplishments that you've been able to achieve in a very short period of time, and that I know everyone here is interested in talking about what else we can be doing to accelerate it even more.
Well, thank you. Woody lives right across the street, literally right across the street. It's like boom. So great job, great company. Thank you very much. Please.
I'm Mark Weinberger. I'm the husband of Nancy, father of 4, and in my part-time, I'm Chairman and CEO of Ernst & Young EY, and thank you. We hired 60,000 people again this year. We've 250,000 people around the world. And strong economy, we do a great job. So thank you.
That's a big hire this year, isn't it? 60,000. Great job. Please.
My name is Keith Brock, Chairman of DocuSign. Mr. President, thank you for all your assistance out there in California and in your kind words. 300 million unique users around the world. It's really not
Good. Thank you. Great job you've done. Thank you very much.
Christopher Ruddy, CEO of Newsmax Media. I am an enemy of the people that actually supports Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, Chris. John?
John Katzinsky, Red Apple Group, New York City, and like Margo. And I do a hobby. I have a hobby, I have a radio show. And every week I say in the radio show, why is business doing so well? Because business people no longer feel we're the enemy of Washington. And that's why it's going away.
Thank you, John. Great job you've done, John. Thank you.
I'm Larry Cablo. I'm an assistant to the president.
Does everybody recognize that voice?
I'm very grateful and honored to have this position. I'm here with my beautiful saintly wife Judy, who is the best painter and artist in the United States. And all I can say is 4% growth, sir. That's all I can see.
4, Larry. We're going to do much better than 4. We're going to do better than 4. I want to just thank Larry. He's come on board. He's been so terrific. We don't always agree on things, but we're learning to agree on things. Maybe you're coming along. But I've watched him. He's been my friend. I've been on the show many times over the years, and he had a great show. And I just said, Larry, let's come on. Nobody better than you. Let's put it to use. Let's put it to real use. No longer the shows, right? And he's doing a fantastic job. And I just want to thank you very much on behalf of everybody in the room, Larry.
Thank you, sir.
Really great job. We appreciate it. Please. Oh, my man. The man with the straw. Do you use plastic straws or paper straws?
Either one will work. I'm Harold Ham with Continental Resources. Here is my lady, David Martin. And just want to thank you for all that you've done. I made a short list of a few of the accomplishments in the first 500 days. At 23. We haven't added to it now, so it's tremendous. We have 1,200 direct employees and over 25 independent contractors, and we're reporting a good quarter tomorrow.
Thank you very much. You know, Harold's friend is a great football coach, and he came up to my office and he said, Harold was 2 minutes late. He said, you know that Harold Ham? This guy can take a straw, dump it into the ground, and oil pours out. He said, these other oil companies, they spend billions and billions of dollars. They can't find a thing. This guy, so that's why I asked, is it a plastic? So I think in your case, either one works, Harold. But I heard you're doing really well. A little better since the original days when I knew you, right? A little bit better. We're proud of you. Thank you. Please.
I'm not quite sure why I'm here. I'm like the smallest company by far. I'm Jim Cook, and I started making Sam Adams beer in my kitchen 35 years ago. And I guess I'm sort of speaking on behalf of what is now 7,000 small brewers in the United States. When I started Sam Adams, American beer was a joke, and it pissed me off. And now American brewers make the best beer in the world. And the tax reform was a very big deal for all of us. 85% of the beer making in the United States is owned by foreign companies.
Right.
The Americans, the largest American-owned brewery, had 2% market share.
Yeah.
So we were paying 38%.
But you've done a great job.
Taxes. Competing against people were paying 20.
Yeah.
And now we have a level playing.
That's good. We've done that. It was a very unfair situation. That's right. That's exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great job. We're also making the finest steel in the world. It's a big difference between good steel and bad steel. They were sending us a lot of bad steel. We're making great steel now.
Mr. President, Mark Sutton, Chairman and CEO of International Paper. Our company is running very, very well right now. We are basically a company that has demand of GDP, and we are running at a 4% rate right now. Strongest we've had in many, many years, and just 2 weeks ago we reported our strongest second quarter in 7 years.
And International Paper is an incredible company from the environmental standpoint. Whatever they take, they put back. I've seen it. I've seen what you do, and it's incredible what you do. And then you start all over again, but what you do is really good, and I appreciate it.
With renewable natural resources, we generate 80% of our own energy, and wasted with natural resources, and 90% for example, our corrugated boxes are recycled back into the stream.
Wow. Fantastic job. Fantastic job. Thank you very much. Please.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Lee. I'm a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. I started my last company on unemployment, $10,000 in the bank to build it to a multi-million dollar, several thousand employees. I'm also a prolific digital marketer, and I want to say thank you, Mr. President, for what you've done this economy. It's incredible. Everybody said, what, 2%, no more than 2%? With the bottom line, now we're seeing 4.1, so congratulations.
Well, thank you. And I have to say, the policies of the other administration would have been more regulation and much higher taxes. And what you're witnessing now could never have happened. And growth has taken us out of a lot of problems that have been caused. And you're going to see super growth very soon when it's all set, when it's like a fine-tuned machine. But you're going to see some really super growth. We're in a little bit of a fight with China right now, and we've gone up. And I don't want them to go down because I'm a big fan of President Xi, friend of mine. But they're down 28% since the last 3 or 4 months, and we want them to do well, but we want them to treat us fairly. They have not treated us fairly for many decades, which is the president's fault. I mean, I take responsibility for my time, and I couldn't let that happen. As most of the people in this room know, and many of you, I guess almost all of you, are involved in China, so you know exactly what's happening. But we were losing $500 billion a year on average, 517 billion over the last couple of years. 517 billion. So we can't do that. So it's going to be a lot different, and I think we'll have a fantastic relationship with China, and we'll ultimately have a fantastic trading relationship. It'll be somewhat different, but it's all working out. You know about Iran. Iran is a whole different country since we got rid of one of the worst deals that I've ever seen. Much different country. North Korea, we're doing well. I think we have a lot of good talk going on. That's been going on for many years. I think, we left there 3 months ago. Somebody said, well, wait a minute. Why isn't it moving fast? They've been working on this thing for 40 years. I left 3 months ago. We got our hostages back. There's no more missiles flying over Japan. There's no rockets going up. There's no nuclear testing, and we have a good relationship with North Korea. So we'll see how it works. I have a feeling that China now is not happy, and maybe they're doing a little bit of a number, but we'll figure that out too very soon. But I think we're doing very well with North Korea. We have a lot of respect, and that'll end up being a great country. And Chris, I'd like to maybe have you finish off. You've done a fantastic job.
Thank you, Chris Liddell. I'm Assistant President here with my wife Renee. It's a great honor to serve, and wonderful to see you in the stick of the economy. I've been CFO of a number of companies before this role. I've never seen the economy in such great shape. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Chris. And just one story, because I see Dennis from Boeing sitting here. And one of the first things I was given was the Air Force One. Well, Air Force One now is 30 years old, which is old for the United States. I see other countries pulling up in their Boeing 747s that are brand new. A lot of the Middle East countries, interestingly, we protect them for nothing, but that's changing too. But they have their brand new Boeing 747s. And so I had a price at $5.6 billion. This is for 2 planes, not 1 plane. But that's got to be, that's the world's most expensive plane. So we worked very long and very hard, and we have the same exact product for 1.6 billion less. Is that right? And hopefully we'll get them a little sooner, and I think you'll be able to produce that. But they're going to be planes that will be representative of this country, and it'll be something really great. So we sat down, we had a very serious negotiation. It worked out great. And Dennis, you are doing a fantastic job at Boeing. And I mentioned a little cutting there, but the amount of F-18s that you're selling and all of the different planes that you're selling, not only to us, but to other countries, because we've opened it up where allies of ours can now buy planes, because they were taking a long time. They'd have 2 and 3 year waits. By the time the plane was ready, they wanted to buy the new version of it. And we're getting that done very quickly. So I think you probably see the results. I'm sure it's helping. So Dennis, thank you very much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's a great honor. And to the media, thank you very much.
Take a question, sir. Let's go, guys.